Joe in Stowe, Ohio. Hey, Joe, welcome to the program.
Hello. Boy, it's a great guest. What a program.
I agree.
One question with just a little bit of just a very brief background. The question is, we've identified the problems, or Chris has identified the problems in terms of corporate infiltration of Democratic liberal policies. But the question is, what is the best way to move forward for these next 2 years? If the corporatocracy has infiltrated, and it was pretty obvious with Obama, is it best to start now to move progressive with authentic progressivism, or is it best to just bite the bullet and hope that the Democrats may throw some crumbs our way?
Well, I think the Democrats have sort of wiped their feet on our face once too often. I think the failure on progressives, who should have held fast to the interests of the working class, was to continue to support the Democratic Party after the passage of NAFTA.
Well, I think there's been this continuous hope, and I confess to being one of the cheerleaders for it, that we progressives may be able to do what the Republicans did in the 70s. I was 13 years old in 1964. I went door to door for Barry Goldwater with my dad, who was very active in the Republican Party, died a Republican. He was a good man, and he was an Eisenhower Republican. I mean, he'd be horrified by what's going on right now. He was still around. And, 2 years later, I was being arrested in East Lansing and being gassed, in anti-war riots 3 years later. But I remember that time, and it seems, well, I forgot my thought now. Oh, and I remember how devastated, how gutted my dad was and his friends by Goldwater's loss. I mean, they were convinced the Republican Party was dead. And then after Nixon, they were really convinced it was dead. And what happened was the people who really believed themselves to be conservatives said, screw this, we're going to infiltrate this party and take it over. And if you wanted to take over NBC, you can't do that. You got to have, couple hundred billion
let's not forget,
bucks.
Tom, that they had big bucks to do it. They were bankrolled by the Business Roundtable, by all sorts of corporations, and we don't have those kind of backers. It's why Air America, coupled with bad management, doesn't
Let me
exist.
tell you about it. Having been in Air America for 3 years, I can tell you a story.
There you go, the incompetence of the liberal class.
But really, the story of Air America is that they lost $14 to $17 million in 6 years, and while Rupert Murdoch lost $100 million a year for 5 years on Fox News. And, to claim that there's, Sean Hannity lost that company $500 million, and nobody calls him a loser.
Right.
It's about who's got the deep pockets. And this kind of takes us to the conversation I had with Ralph Nader a couple of weeks ago. But he says only the super rich are going to say this. Right. And I'm like, what, you want dueling plutocrats?
Well, I love Ralph, and actually waded through the book. But I asked him, when is the oligarchic or the plutocracy ever stepped in to save the citizen? Give me an example in American history, and he sort of had to really reach.
Or in world history.
In world history, exactly.
It's Louis XIV didn't exactly say, gee, I think I'll just head down to the prison now. Chris Hedges, his book, Death of the Liberal Class, brilliant. Check it out. It's a well worth the read, depressing as it may be. Chris, thanks so much for being with us.
Tom.